You see, everybody wants to talk about winning. Everybody wants to talk about being the best. But very few people want to talk about what it really takes to dominate. And that's mastery. That's what separated Michael Jordan from everyone else. It wasn't the highlight reels. It wasn't just the trophies or the rings. It was the obsession with becoming better every single day. He didn't train to impress anybody. He didn't show up to practice for applause. He showed up because he couldn't stand the idea of not maximizing his own potential. That was his addiction. Mastery. Not success, mastery. Most people work until they get it right. Jordan worked until he couldn't get it wrong. There's a difference. One is satisfied with good enough. The other never stops. He would stay in the gym after everyone left, not because someone told him to, but because he was chasing something deeper, control over his craft. He wanted to understand every detail of the game, every angle, every reaction. He wanted to make sure that when the moment came, there was no hesitation, no doubt, no weakness left inside him. And that doesn't come from talent. It comes from discipline, from an inner fire that refuses to settle. You have to understand mastery is lonely. It's repetitive. It's not glamorous. It's hours and hours of doing the same thing when nobody's watching. It's saying no to comfort, no to distractions, no to good enough. While others were out celebrating, Jordan was in the gym, breaking down his own game, looking for flaws most people couldn't even see. That's the difference between those who play the game and those who own it. When you look at greatness, you'll always find the same truth hiding behind it, an obsession that nobody understands. People thought Jordan was crazy. They said he was too intense, too demanding. But that's what mastery looks like. You can't expect to dominate something you only give half of yourself to. You can't rise to the top when you're still negotiating with your comfort zone. Mastery requires all of you, every ounce, every moment, every breath. He wasn't competing against other players. He was competing against his own potential. Every day he asked himself, how much better can I be? And that question drove him. It consumed him. Because he knew the moment you stop getting better, you start getting worse. That's the truth most people don't want to hear. They want the glory without the grind. They want the spotlight without the shadows. But the real work, the work that builds champions, happens in those shadows. So if you want to dominate in your field, if you want to be remembered the way Jordan is remembered, stop chasing success. Start chasing mastery. Because success fades, but mastery makes you eternal. Pain. That's the part most people want to skip. They want the success story, the highlight reel, the championship parade, but they don't want the pain that builds the foundation for it all. What made Michael Jordan different wasn't that he avoided pain. It was that he used it. Every rejection, every failure, every loss, he took that pain and turned it into fuel. You remember, he got cut from his high school basketball team. Most people would have quit right there. They would have said, maybe this isn't for me, but not him. That moment didn't break him. It lit something inside him that never went out. He turned embarrassment into motivation. He took disappointment and built discipline out of it. That's how he became who he was. See, pain can do two things to you. It can destroy you or it can drive you. Most people let it destroy them. They take one loss and start believing that's all they'll ever be. But champions, they don't run from pain. They face it. They sit with it. They learn from it. They let it push them to another level. That's why Jordan trained the way he did. That's why he played with that kind of intensity. He wasn't just playing against an opponent. He was playing against every moment that ever tried to define him. You have to realize pain is part of the process. You can't grow without it. You can't evolve without it. And that's what Jordan understood better than anyone else. When he lost, he didn't hide. He went back to the gym. When he missed, he didn't complain. He corrected. When people doubted him, he didn't argue. He delivered. He learned how to take emotional pain and turn it into physical performance. That's what greatness demands. The ability to channel hurt into hunger. And let's be real, sometimes pain isn't just from failure. Sometimes it's from sacrifice. The late nights, the early mornings, the moments when you're exhausted and no one's clapping for you. The moments when your friends are out having fun and you're alone with your grind. That's pain too. But Jordan embraced it because he knew comfort was the enemy of greatness. He knew that every ounce of discomfort was an investment in his dream. And when you see pain that way, when you start viewing it as the price you pay for greatness, it changes everything. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid pain, and in doing so, they avoid growth. They protect their feelings but destroy their future. You can't have both. If you want to dominate, you've got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You've got to use the pain, not run from it. Every time you get knocked down, get up with more focus. Every time you fail, learn faster. Because pain is a teacher, and if you listen, it'll give you everything you've ever wanted. Pain doesn't stop champions, it shapes them. Competition. That word alone used to light a fire inside Michael Jordan that few could ever understand. See, most people compete when someone's watching. Most people need an audience, a reason, a rival. But Jordan, he didn't need any of that. His biggest competition wasn't the guy guarding him. It was the man he saw in the mirror every morning. He had a fire that came from within, a kind of internal warfare that kept him hungry even when he was already the best. Every practice, every drill, every game, it wasn't about proving others wrong. It was about proving himself right. That's what made him dangerous. Because when your motivation comes from the outside, it can fade. The cheers stop. The critics get quiet. But when it comes from within, it never dies. Jordan had this thing inside of him that refused to let him settle. Even after championships, after MVPs, after the fame and the money, he still played like he had something to prove. That's not ego. That's purpose. That's what separates greatness from average. He turned competition into a lifestyle. He turned it into his identity. He didn't just want to win. He wanted to dominate, to leave no doubt. Every game was personal. Every possession mattered. You could see it in his eyes. He wanted to break you mentally before he beat you physically. He studied you, tested you, pushed you until you broke. Because to him, competition wasn't just about basketball. It was about character. It was about heart. It was about how much you were willing to give when the pressure was highest. And that's what most people miss. They want to compete when it's easy, when they feel good, when the odds are in their favor. But champions, they compete when they're tired. They compete when nobody's cheering. They compete when there's nothing left in the tank, because their drive doesn't come from circumstance. It comes from commitment. That's what Jordan had. He didn't need motivation. He was motivation. You've got to reach that place where you don't just show up to win. You show up to outwork, outthink, and outlast. Where every day you're chasing a better version of yourself. Because if you're only chasing other people, you'll stop the moment you pass them. But if you're chasing your potential, there's no finish line. Jordan understood that. That's why even in practice, he gave 100%. That's why he pushed his teammates so hard, because he knew that when the standard is excellence, there's no room for average energy. So stop worrying about the competition around you. The real battle is internal. The real question is, how bad do you want it when nobody's keeping score? Because when you can master that, when you can compete with yourself relentlessly, day after day, that's when you stop playing the game and you start defining it. Discipline. That's the word that separated Michael Jordan from everybody else. It wasn't luck. It wasn't just talent. It was the daily commitment to outwork everyone in the room, even when no one was watching. While most players trained to get ready for the season, he trained like every day was the championship. He didn't need motivation. His routine was his motivation. Every morning, every workout, every repetition was done with intention. That's what people don't understand. Greatness isn't built in the spotlight. It's built in the dark, one disciplined decision at a time. Jordan treated practice like it was the finals. He didn't believe in saving energy or pacing himself. He went full speed every drill, every play, every second, because he knew that the way you do anything is the way you do everything. If you're lazy in practice, you'll be lazy under pressure. If you cut corners when no one's watching, those same corners will show up when it matters most. That's why he demanded the same from everyone around him, because he refused to let average habits contaminate his mindset. People saw the results, the 6 rings, the awards, the highlight moments, but they didn't see the routine. They didn't see the nights he spent shooting until his hands bled. They didn't see the early mornings when his body hurt, but he still showed up. They didn't see the sacrifice. And that's the thing. Discipline isn't glamorous. It's repetitive. It's uncomfortable. It's waking up when your body says sleep. It's doing one more rep when your mind says stop. It's the willingness to stay consistent when the excitement fades. You see, talent gives you a head start, but discipline is what keeps you in the race. Jordan understood that better than anyone. He knew that talent could make you good for a season, but discipline could make you great for a lifetime. And that's the difference between people who achieve something once and people who dominate year after year. Discipline is what builds longevity. Discipline is what builds legacy. Every time he stepped on that court, he carried the weight of his preparation. He never showed up hoping to play well. He showed up knowing he was ready because his work ethic had already written the outcome. That's what discipline gives you: confidence. Real confidence doesn't come from ego. It comes from evidence, from knowing you've done the work, from knowing you've paid the price. And that's what I want you to understand. If you want to dominate like Jordan, stop waiting for motivation. Motivation is temporary. Discipline is permanent. You've got to build habits so strong that they carry you through the days you don't feel like showing up. Because the truth is, greatness doesn't care how you feel. It only responds to how you work. Mental toughness, that was Michael Jordan's real weapon. Everyone saw the physical dominance, the athleticism, the highlight plays, but what made him unstoppable wasn't just his body, it was his mind. He had this unbreakable belief that no matter the score, no matter the situation, no matter who was standing in front of him, he was going to find a way to win. Pressure didn't scare him, it sharpened him. Where most players felt fear, he felt focus. That's the difference between those who play the game and those who control it. See, mental toughness isn't something you're born with. It's something you build through pain, through failure, through moments when you want to quit but don't. Jordan went through all of that. The missed shots, the losses, the criticism, but none of it broke him. In fact, every challenge just made him stronger. He learned to stay calm when everything was falling apart. He learned to trust his preparation when the noise got loud. Because when you train your mind to stay locked in, the world can't shake you. People talk about clutch moments, those last second shots, those game-winning plays. But you know why Jordan made them look easy? Because he had already won the battle in his mind. He didn't see pressure as something to avoid. He saw it as a privilege. He wanted the ball when the game was on the line. He wanted the weight. He wanted the responsibility. Because to him, those moments didn't create greatness. They revealed it. Most people crumble under pressure because they start listening to doubt. They start playing out the worst case scenario in their head. But champions, they silence the noise. They remind themselves, I've been here before. I've prepared for this. That's the level of mental control Jordan had. He refused to let emotions dictate his performance. He understood that fear is just imagination turned against you, so he flipped it. He imagined success so vividly that it became his reality. You've got to build that same resilience. Because life is going to test you. It's going to throw pressure, pain, and chaos your way. And if you don't learn to master your mind will master you. Mental toughness isn't about pretending things don't hurt. It's about staying steady even when they do. It's the voice inside that says, keep going, when everything around you says stop. It's what separates those who get close from those who finish the job. Jordan's greatness came from the simple truth that he refused to break. He refused to fold. When others doubted, he delivered. When others panicked, he performed. And that's the standard you've got to set for yourself, to stay strong when it matters most, because pressure doesn't destroy champions, it reveals them. Leadership. That's the final piece that made Michael Jordan different. See, being great on your own is one thing, but being able to pull greatness out of everyone around you, that's another level. Jordan understood that dominance wasn't just about scoring points or collecting trophies. It was about setting a standard that lifted an entire team. He demanded the best, not because he wanted to be hard on people, but because he knew what it took to win. He wasn't trying to be liked. He was trying to build champions. People called him tough, sometimes even ruthless. You've got to understand, he pushed his teammates because he refused to accept mediocrity. He couldn't stand seeing potential wasted. He led by example, through action, not words. When he showed up early, others started showing up early. When he gave everything in practice, others followed. That's real leadership. It's not about telling people what to do. It's about showing them what's possible. He created an environment where excuses couldn't survive. You couldn't show up halfway when you were standing next to someone who gave everything, every single time. That's what made the Bulls a dynasty. It wasn't luck. It wasn't timing. It was a culture built on accountability, on effort, on the belief that if you're going to wear the same jersey, you better carry the same fire. Jordan wasn't trying to be everyone's friend. He was trying to win. And sometimes leadership means being misunderstood in the moment so that success can be celebrated later. He carried his team the same way he carried his own mindset, with intensity. He made sure everyone around him knew the mission. He knew that a team filled with talent but lacking commitment would always fall short. So he pushed, he challenged, he tested people's limits because he knew pressure could do two things. It could expose you or it could elevate you. And he wanted to see who was ready to rise. The truth is, leadership is lonely. There are moments when you'll be the only one who sees the vision clearly. There are moments when people will question your drive, your tone, your methods. But if you want to lead like Jordan, you have to be willing to stand firm in your purpose. You have to care enough to hold people to a higher standard, even when they don't like it. Because real leaders don't settle for harmony. They fight for excellence. That's what made Jordan unforgettable. He didn't just build a legacy for himself. He built one for everyone who played beside him. He taught them how to win, how to prepare, how to believe. That's what leadership really is. Not about power, but about impact. Because true greatness doesn't just elevate you, it elevates everyone around you.